Hello, Dustin.
Hello, Hooper.
Welcome to the HooperCast Movie Hour, everybody. We made it by the skin of our teeth.
Yep.
Why is that a saying?
I don't know. I've always wondered that. I don't know.
The teeth, they don't have skin.
I'm looking it up right now.
Why do people say that? If you are listening to our show, we appreciate you being here. And check us out everywhere: Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, places where you can find shows. And Dustin, did you find that thing yet?
Yes,
Still looking?
it's from the King James Version of the Bible.
Really?
Yeah, and Job 19:20, my bone cleaveth to my skin and to my flesh, and I am escaped with the skin of my teeth.
Wow. Okay, then. Well, there you go.
All right, there you go.
You're welcome, everybody. But we're not here to explain to you idioms and their biblical origins, not on this show at least. We are here, no sir, to talk about movies and movie news and other film-related things. So,
Indeed.
in keeping with that, here we have a quick little hit of film news. Not a lot this week, admittedly.
No, not a lot.
But just to follow up on the stuff that was going on, we were talking about last week with the Georgia voting bill and how it's impacting the entertainment industry and
Yeah,
you know the working class industry people on the ground there. So you got people like Will Smith and Antoine Fuqua pulling their productions out of Georgia, and we discussed last week how it's really political, and everyone who's going to give an opinion on it about the bill itself should probably go read it. You may find that there's things that are in it that maybe you thought that weren't, or things that are not in it that you thought were, or things that make it not unique or unique, and stuff like that. So go check that out. But this story is from The Hill, and it's just a little tidbit on top of all of that discussion. Black Panther director condemns Georgia voting bill, but says sequel will film in the state. So it's about Ryan Coogler, who does not like this bill, not a fan of it, but said, here, I'll just read his quote. I'm not even going to summarize it.
yeah, do it.
As an African American and as a citizen, I oppose all attempts, explicit and otherwise, to shrink the electorate and reduce access to the ballot. While I wished to turn my concern into action, I could not do so without first being educated on the specifics of Georgia. Having now spoken with voting rights activists in this state, I have come to understand that many of the people employed by my film, including all the local vendors and businesses we engage, are the very same people who will bear the brunt of SB 202, which is the bill. For these reasons, I will not be engaging in a boycott of Georgia, Coogler said, noting that he will instead be using my voice to emphasize the effects of SB 202, its shameful roots in Jim Crow, and doing all I can to support organizations fighting voter suppression here in the state. So I'd like everyone to pay attention to that, because that's what you do. He could have, first of all, I don't know how much power the director of a Marvel film has to pull an entire production out of a state.
Right.
I'm sure he could have asked, and I'm sure
he has some sway.
I'm sure Feige and the powers that be would have been like, okay, I mean, as long as it's not going to be like super expensive to shoot elsewhere, I don't see it. I mean, okay, but he did what you would expect a responsible leader to do, which is he did a little research into the bill, and then he did a little research into, all right, well, what's going to happen if I pull the production out of Georgia? Oh, it's going to impact a bunch of people who need work and who this bill is negatively impacting, in my opinion. So, just a quick little example of how to react if you find that there's an injustice with some legislation. There are ways to take action without boycotting, because sometimes there's this funny thing in psychology and philosophy called the law of unintended consequences. It's not a complicated law here. Sometimes you do stuff hoping that something happens, and then a whole bunch of other shit happens that you didn't think would happen, but it did, and maybe it's worse than if you'd just done the other thing.
Right, exactly. And this is sort of what we talked a little bit about last week too, is, I kind of mentioned that I felt like you're going to impact the people that are already going to be, feeling this thing. And that's no good. It's like it's like a gut punch after a punch to the dang face. And so, I just feel like this is sort of the way to go about it, because we live in a society in which we are able to make our voices heard in a very specific way. Now, granted, you can always raise attention by doing things like moving your production out of Georgia or moving a baseball game out of Georgia. That gets attention, but that doesn't move the political wheels. That doesn't actually make legislation appear or vanish. So at the end of the day, this is exactly what you want. This is somebody saying, look, I'm dedicated to filming here in Georgia, not only for the good of my project, but also for the people who are going to be working for me for the next few months. And so let's all come together and we'll fight this the way that we're supposed to fight it while we do that together. Because his alternative is, I don't know, you go shoot in Louisiana, and okay, fine, but that means you've got to now drop a whole lot more money on location scouts, and you got to go out there and figure out where you can shoot and what locations work. And then I don't know how far along they are in the process, but potentially recontextualize scenes based on what you have available in that specific area. So geographically. So I don't know, the whole idea of it is, I'm glad that he wants to voice his opinion. You should voice your opinion and you should make your voice heard. That's one of the great things about where we live. But I always say, if you're going to boycott, if you're going to protest, if you're going to do something like that, risk your own self, your own career, your own livelihood. Don't do it on behalf of other people. I'm proud of Ryan Coogler for that. I think that he's doing the exact right thing. And I wish him the best.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I like Ryan Coogler a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
Looking forward to his film and many other films he makes.
As a person and as a filmmaker.
Yeah, Ryan Coogler's one of the good ones, for sure.
Yeah.
He's one of those young directors who I'm drawn to his work, and he not only is creatively gifted as a storyteller, but as a person, he has integrity. And in a world full of people and full of Harvey Weinsteins and Scott Rudins and Joss Whedons, where you've got people who, maybe they're good with their jobs, but there's a whole bunch of emotional collateral in their wake. Maybe it's not worth it. The trade-off you get people like Ryan Coogler, who seem like they turn out great work, and they seem like they're a real joy to work with. And that's why they keep getting work. And that's why they get to direct Black Panther. And that's why they get to do a whole series for Disney Plus. That's why they are, one of the main architects of an entire, series of films. You're intelligent, creative, and a pleasure to work with. And
absolutely. If New Hollywood looks like Ryan Coogler, I'm on board.
Yep. Speaking of Ryan Coogler, I sounded normal before we started doing the show, and now I'm drying out again. I thought I was past all this pollen, but I am not.
Never.
So I want to briefly talk about something pretty sweet that happened yesterday or today. I can't remember when it was. What's
yesterday? I think.
Yesterday. Yeah. So I'm going to play a little bit here from the trailer of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, because the trailer is out, Dustin.
Yes.
It's time for you to take your place by my side. You better watch out, 'cause it's my time. That's not going to happen. You can't outrun who you really are.
Who are you?
Man, I love that trailer. It's so good.
Yeah, it's a good trailer.
It's an amazing trailer. This is the long-awaited trailer. Teaser. Official teaser. This is like a 2-minute long video.
Yeah.
For one of the newest Marvel films, Shang-Chi and the Legend, Shang-Chi, whatever. I've heard Shang. I'm gonna go Shang. I got a feeling about it. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Experience it. It says only in theaters September 3rd. We'll see about that, because that's what they said about Black Widow, and now Black Widow's going to Disney Plus. I think July 9th, and Disney Plus and theaters. And Shang-Chi is supposed to be September. So. We'll see.
We'll see.
Coming up soon. And this is a big deal because, as we said, speaking of new Hollywood, you've got Marvel continuing to be an organization and a studio who is elevating, voices, minority voices, overlooked voices, and diversity of voice and story, as they've done with comics for decades, but of course now in the films. And it's making a lot of people really happy because now we're getting more and more characters, more and more stories, and people that just characters that we're not used to seeing on the big screen. And for a lot of people, they've been waiting their whole lives for this sort of thing. And you've got this film directed by Dustin Daniel Cretton. Anyways, it's a really cool trailer. So, if you haven't, I'm sure anyone who's listening has seen it. So, film starring Simu Liu. Oh God, this is going to be the hard part for me, pronouncing all these actors' names. Of course, we know Awkwafina, who is in every Disney thing related to Asian characters lately. She seems to be like the bridge,
Sure. Awkwafina, I love Awkwafina.
Yeah.
People who have listened to the show for any length of time know that I love The Farewell. It's one of my favorite movies of, 2019, I guess. And it feels like just yesterday, like 2020 is a blur, but yeah, man, like I love Awkwafina, and I think that she's going to kill it here. So, and then Michelle Yeoh is in this as well. It's got a really good cast, and I think it is gonna really surprise some people.
Yeah, the action looks really cool. It's gonna be really awesome to see. Hopefully, what we're gonna be seeing is a lot of really great martial arts action in this movie, which we're not really used to seeing in Marvel. I mean, we got characters who can fight, but it's just,
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, it does open up a whole new side of this. And so you have, you do have characters who can fight, right? Like the Hulk, right? He's a puncher. Yeah. He likes to punch things.
Widow.
Widow. But this is different. Like this is like, martial arts, not assassin type things. This is martial arts, and it does open up a whole new thing. And what's great about this trailer for me is, I know Marvel has like the Eternals coming out and that sort of stuff. I have no interest in Eternals at all, and for various reasons. But with something like this, what I love about it is it's presumably a film about one person. Like there's one protagonist, and what really made the Marvel Cinematic Universe work in its first iteration is they did the work of building up individual characters so that when you see them come together, like, oh, that's a big moment. Yeah. And so what we really have to do going into phase, season 2, whatever you want to call it, what we really have to do is do that same groundwork. We can't just rest on our laurels and say, okay, well, we'll just pump out some stuff, and it's not going to work. You have to build again. And that's what I love about this, is they're building again.
It's looking great. I'm very excited for it. Yeah, I'm with you with the Eternals. Like I'm probably... I remember I've been going back through the old podcast, and so I came across us talking about a bunch of silly things in retrospect, like Guardians of the Galaxy was on the horizon. Yeah, and we were like, but it doesn't connect to the Avenger. It was just like it was just so.
I'm sure we didn't care.
Yeah, it's funny. I'll tell you after we're done talking about this subject before we get to the next thing, but Anyway, it was, so I'll say now, like, yeah, I'm not as excited about the Eternals, but we've seen like no promotional stuff from it. And that's part of why is it's just this nebulous concept where we know the story and we've been told about all the characters. And it's like, oh, cool. All right. But until I see a picture of like someone in costume, a teaser, just give me something like this where let's get a sense of the tone of this film. Yeah. Then it goes into like, you can do this exact same thing, here, which is you watch it and you go, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. 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 Well, and what's more interesting about this to me is like you have so this is a story about like, first of all, it feels fairly grounded. It's martial arts, whatever. I mean, sure, there's going to be a heightened level to it, and that's fine. But it feels very much like this is a corner of the MCU we haven't seen. Mm-hmm. Like maybe we got close to it in Doctor Strange, like with, secret societies and whatever. Okay, maybe we got close to it. I don't know. But with Eternals, it's very much like, oh, this is stuff that's kind of like Guardians-ish and Thanos-ish. We've seen that kind of stuff before. But here, it does feel new. It does feel fresh.
One of the things I wanted to mention that we talked about in the old podcast was we were talking about the film news item, how, Captain Marvel sets Captain America 3 to open May 6th, 2016, the same weekend as Batman vs. Superman. And, we were talking about like, oh, that's not a good idea. Like, and Batman vs. Superman's going to destroy them. And we're like, who do you think should move? And I was like, well, who's there first? And you're like, Warner Brothers was. I was like, well, then Marvel should move. I was like, Batman vs. Superman is gonna whoop the shit out of him, I think I said. And I couldn't have been more wrong. Cap 3 made more money, way more critically acclaimed. It did not move its release date. Warner Brothers did. And now keep in mind, to be fair, this was like 10 days before Cap 2 came out. And at this point in the MCU, you and I were very like, okay, well, if it doesn't have anything to do with the Avengers, the Phase 3 the last film that had come out was Thor: The Dark World.
Yeah.
There's Iron Man 3, which I enjoyed, but you didn't like. And then Thor: The Dark World, which neither of us really liked. And so there was a Cap trailer, and we were like, so far this isn't going great. I mean, it's fine, right. But like, the last good movie was The Avengers, so we'll just wait for the next Avengers movie. You know, and then I'm sure I'll find out in a day or two by the time this episode drops that we saw The Winter Soldier and we were like, whoa,
right,
and everything changed.
Yeah.
So,
well, and it did. The Winter Soldier is still one of my favorite Marvel movies.
It's so good.
And like I would say top 3 for sure.
Yeah.
And like I love that movie. And yeah, I mean, look, hindsight's 2020. I don't know. Maybe Eternals is going to be far more interesting to me than this is.
Yeah.
But right now, this teaser trailer did its job. It got me excited about a little pocket of the MCU that we haven't seen. Mm-hmm. And focused on one single character who can then be explored further in these team up films. And that's exactly what I want. Again, it's like, it's a team of eternal people. And I'm like, so the narrative's going to be fractured and not as like focused. Okay, I gotcha.
Right.
Maybe they'll do it. Maybe they'll make it work. Who knows? If anybody can do it, Marvel can do it. But we'll see.
Speaking of Asian cinema, we're going to step into our next little topic here, which is a film that you saw, Dustin, and that I have seen. We are talking, of course, about the Studio Ghibli film, My Neighbor Totoro.
Totoro?
All right, that's a little bit from the trailer of My Neighbor Totoro. This film is on HBO Max along with all the other Studio Ghibli films.
Yeah, or at least most of them.
Yeah, at least most of them. We got into these a few weeks ago ourselves, actually. My wife grew up on these films, and so I was introduced to a number of these some years ago. And the first one was My Neighbor Totoro. Fun fact, there is a Totoro in Toy Story 4.
Yes, there is.
Or 3.
Three, I think,
yeah,
in the preschool or whatever.
No, in Bonnie's room. Bonnie's got
in
one.
Bonnie's room? Okay,
yeah.
got it.
I don't think he came back, though. Maybe there's a licensing issue or something.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, she had one. Anyway, so is this the first time you're seeing this?
This is the first time I've ever seen this.
Wow.
In fact, the only Miyazaki film I've seen is Spirited Away.
Okay.
And I saw that years and years ago. Like I was probably high school-ish. Like I remember the major things, but I don't remember much.
That film's nuts. That film's creepy.
It is. I do know that. Yes.
Yeah.
So what happened was I was looking for something that my wife and I could watch together and enjoy. And so I thought, look, she's seen a handful of these films, not all of them. She hadn't seen this one. And so I said, okay, well, let's sit down. Like, this seems to be like the seminal Miyazaki movie. Like, we have to now see this. So we sat down and watched it. For those of you who don't know, My Neighbor Totoro was released in 1988. Again, directed by Hayao Miyazaki. It is about two girls who move to the country with their father, and they befriend a giant cuddly rabbit looking thing named Totoro, and he's magic and he's fun, and he provides a little bit of childhood wonder, merriment for these kids who are in a situation where they're in a new place and their mom isn't doing so well with her health, and they need a little buddy. So Totoro becomes their little buddy, and so that I don't know. That's the simple gist of it.
Yeah.
I gave this, I'm trying to remember, I gave this 3.5 stars.
Yeah.
I thought it was fine. It's really not great, but I felt weird just leaving it at 3. Because like, I guess it's more than fine in terms of its, technical achievements. The animation's beautiful. There's nothing that hasn't already been said, but this is a really beautiful looking movie, and the animation is flawless, and really, I think even in 88, like, sets the tone for anime and anime inspired things for years to come.
Yeah.
You can see its influence in everything from Pokemon, like, all the way to, the things like Avatar, The Last Airbender, and The Legend of Korra. Like, its influence spans decades, and will continue to. And of course, Totoro just keeps getting bigger because there's merchandise. And like, I went into a store the other day and they had Totoro, like, oven mitts and towel, like literally you could do your kitchen in Totoro stuff. And I'm just like, okay, cool. I didn't buy any of it, but cool, somebody did. So yeah, he just keeps getting bigger. He's an icon at this point. I think he's in the logo for Studio Ghibli.
Yeah.
I think he's like their mascot, so like a Mickey Mouse type dude.
Yeah.
What I was surprised by is how little of this film Totoro is actually in.
Yeah.
He essentially has like 3 set pieces, and that's it. He's really not in much of this movie at all. You see him in the background a couple of times, like up in the tree or something. But as far as like interaction with the kids, it's pretty minimal. And in fact, like, the story as I laid it out for you, like, that's the story. Like, there's not like a mustache twirling villain who's like, I'm going to get that Totoro and make him into a rug. Like, there's none of that. It's just like little girls, and they need somebody to mess around with, and like, there he is.
Yeah.
And it's not even like super deep in that it's not like they learn unless it's completely lost on me. It's not like they learn like super valuable lessons or like we will take these lessons we learned from Totoro into our lives forever. And like there's no epilogue where you see their kids and playing with Totoro or anything. And it's simple, it's contained. And
yeah, it's one of those movies. It's like it's really pleasant to have on.
Sure.
If you've never seen it, it's worth looking at, I think. But like it's one of those like films where, well, you don't watch it if you're sleepy. It's a lot of atmosphere. There's a whole lot of like visual and nice, pleasant sound, but the story doesn't have like a ton of momentum. But that's part of what makes it nice to sort of absorb. But if you like a tight pace, this isn't it.
No. And if you like a dense story, this isn't it. Like you're right. Like this is a sleepy time movie. So we put it on and I think we were both invested. Like it's not like we were bored or whatever, but I think we were both like on the edge of our seat waiting for something to happen. And then it finally felt like towards the end something was happening, and then the movie's just like over. And we were like, oh, that's it? Whoa. And it's weird because the film is an hour and 26 minutes, but it doesn't feel that. Like I felt like, oh, now that we're getting to something, it doesn't feel like I've been sitting here for an hour and a half. It just feels like, this has all been set up for something and then nothing happens. And there's not really much closure at all. So it's really strange. It defies the 3-act structure, and maybe that's because it's made in Japan and it's not Western in that way. I think in America, the Hollywood formula has really stuck in our like our psyche deep down, that we know like this 3-act thing. And so even if you don't study film, even if you don't study how to write a film, you kind of know what should happen and what shouldn't happen at different points. And even you can say like, oh, that movie was good or that movie wasn't good, and have some like feeling that you know what you're talking about because you've just seen a lot of movies. Yeah. Well, like this film is Eastern, and so it doesn't adhere to that. And so I think if you go in expecting, inciting incident is dad strikes one of the girls and they run away, and then oh no, and now I'm going to find a new father figure in Totoro, and like that's the American version. It's like dad's a jerk and we're going to run away and find a rabbit dad.
Right.
And then in the end, yes. And then in the end, we're going to learn something. Yeah. And like that's the American version, right? But this version is very much, it's way more like a fairy tale, but like not a lot happens. It's just like a fairy tale, like a fun little bedtime story. So My Neighbor Totoro, like, do I recommend it? Yes. I do. But again, like temper your expectations, because it's not going to rival like Toy Story 3 for your favorite animated film ever. But it is like it's enjoyable. So I watched a dub. I think it was the most recent dub. So I can't speak to, what everybody else has seen. Like I think there was an original English dub. I didn't watch that one. And I think, obviously the subtitled version and watching it in its original Japanese. I don't know. But, the version that I watched had like Tim Daly as the dad and Dakota and Elle Fanning as the kids. Yeah. And so like that, it was fine. It was fine. And the voices are all fine. And, I don't know. I can't really say much more. I mean, it's not a dense story. It's pretty simple. And it just feels like a little bedtime story.
All right, well, that's My Neighbor Totoro. It's on HBO Max right now, along with many of the other Studio Ghibli films. I guess the next one, if you haven't seen Spirited Away, I guess I would tell people the next one I can think of that I enjoy to a greater extent is probably Howl's Moving Castle. Is an interesting one. You get in the English dub of that, Christian Bale is Howl, the guy who has the moving castle.
Spoiler alert, geez.
Oh, Ghul, and then
no.
he becomes Batman, and then Ra's al Ghul burns the castle down. All right, let's go to break real quick. When we come back, we're going to talk about some more movies. What do we have? We got another classic, and a couple of, one classic, one sort of older classic, and then one recent about classics.
Yes.
Be right back on the HooperCast Movie Hour. Hey, welcome back to the show. So what's on streaming this weekend is a correction from last weekend. The TV Guide article I'm looking at, it was saying like, hey, April 16th, HBO Max, Mortal Kombat. But if you go to HBO Max, it wasn't there because it's not the right date. It's this weekend.
Okay. Gotcha.
So, yeah, that's Mortal Kombat will be out this weekend, the new film by Warner Brothers. So if you want to check that out, you could check it out. I think I probably will as well. And so there's that. There's a couple other things, though, that caught my eye on this list that they're coming out on. I think this is Amazon. Has on the 28th next. So on Wednesday, we've got Arrival by Denis Villeneuve.
That's a great movie.
Yeah, Arrival's great. I think I first saw it on Amazon Prime.
Oh, great. Cool.
So I'll probably check it out again if it's going to be on there again.
Yeah.
That's a great movie. Also on the 28th on Hulu, we've got the season 4 premiere of The Handmaid's Tale. I think they're dropping. Oh, that's also going to be on Hulu as well, Arrival. Okay, well.
Yeah. Yep.
And on April 30th, The Judge with Robert Downey Jr. and Robert Duvall and Dax Shepard.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, but a lot of cool stuff dropping soon towards the end of the month. So you can check that out as well. I don't think anything's dropping on Netflix because Netflix comparatively sucks. So there is that. All right, cool. Nah, Crescent's fine. All right. I want to talk about this this next film. This was a blind spot of mine, I will say. And then we were scrolling through Netflix, which comparatively sucks. But we found out that it happened to house this delightful movie. Stop playing so I can turn the sound on and play you. Stop. Oh my God. All right, here we go. As unruly as a video as Eliza Doolittle herself, the film, of course, is 1964's My Fair Lady.
See this creature with her curbstone English that'll keep her in the gutter till the end of her days?
Ew, what's that you say?
In 6 months, I'll make a duchess of this draggle-tailed gutter snipe.
You expect me to get into that? How do you do?
How do you do?
So you came here to rescue her from worse than death, eh?
Cheerio, Eliza.
The rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain.
I think she's got it.
I could have danced all night. I could have danced.
Oh, stop playing. God. All right, that's My Fair Lady. This is a film. I don't know what I was going to say.
You are correct.
And
On point.
On point. And I also don't have any of the information pulled up because I am a professional. My Fair Lady is a film from 1964 and starring Audrey Hepburn and Rex Harrison, most notably. You've also got other people in here that frankly I wouldn't have known by name. I only know Rex Harrison because I know that he was the inspiration for Stewie Griffin on Family Guy. So if you heard any of the trailer just now, you're like, how dare you? You know, like that, and there's a whole lot of that in this movie, which is really great. Directed by George Cukor, and it is based on George Bernard Shaw's stage play Pygmalion, about the Greek figure who fell in love with his sculpture and like willed it into existence or something. So My Fair Lady, have you seen this, Dustin?
I have. It's been a long time. And another one I saw in high school.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
This is a long film. This is 2 hours and 55 minutes, and it was a delight. I did not feel this. I did not feel the length. There's an intermission. They preserved the intermission in the middle of this movie. But My Fair Lady, if you've never seen it, check it out, because it's again, like, you see people like Audrey Hepburn. If you've never been exposed to their work, you just sort of think like, oh, stiff, like acting is so stiff back then. It's like, no, it wasn't. And in a film like My Fair Lady, which is about as Henry Higgins, as Professor Henry Higgins likes to say, a gutter snipe, street trash named Eliza Doolittle, who's like this flower, I guess flower girl, but she sells flowers in like London, in London, and she has a very dirty accent, and she's very unrefined. What you say then? And she overhears a character who I'm very much just dangerously akin to is this phonetics professor. Professor Henry Higgins, played by Rex Harrison, and he's essentially making fun of the way she talks, saying like, can you see how she rolls her R's like this, but she hangs on to this. You can smell how little education there is, and she's just like putting her down in front of all these people, and she's like, I'm a person, I am. You can't talk to me like that. And so, whatever, through some plot contrivances, someone challenges him. Can you make her presentable for society? And, just looking at her like she's like this, like she's a beat up car. Like, I suppose I could raise the bar. I can't do it as much, but it's this horribly insensitive man who finds this sick challenge in improving this girl's life by teaching her how to speak properly. Yeah. How to behave in society. And, essentially like, all right, so eventually you're going to, she achieves it. But what now? Like, is the bet over? Was this all just a project? Are we actually becoming closer during this? What does that all mean? And it does not have the conventional ending that people might expect from a film from the 60s that's a musical, where two characters who don't like each other, spend a lot of time around each other. So, I thought it was delightful. I thought that Audrey Hepburn was really great. I knew so little about her. I didn't even know she was English. So, and so I just thought it was great. I thought Rex Harrison was tremendous in this movie. He's just so good. Did I have another article? Oh, fun fact, by the way, about this movie. Actually, Dustin, tell me your thoughts real quick while I pull up this reference article. But you said you saw it in high school?
Yeah, I saw it in high school. I feel like I'm a little bit behind in terms of reviewing it. I haven't seen it very recently, but what I will say, so I won't give it a star rating, but what I will say is I enjoyed it when I watched it, and I watched it in a drama class, and had a lot of fun watching this thing. And so I'm not super like overly familiar with Audrey Hepburn, but I remember really liking her in this role. Yeah. I still think probably ultimately your best performance is maybe Sabrina, but I do enjoy her in this role. And I really like the story here that taking somebody and making them your pet project is just inherently kind of morally reprehensible. Yeah.
It has a positive effect, but it doesn't mean it's a nice thing.
Yeah. I mean, sure, maybe there's an improvement that happens, but like it fundamentally means you reject the way that this person is. Yeah. and it's just like, and so, I mean, it's a weird thing, but I do remember liking this film and knowing that it's on Netflix, which I did not know. Maybe I'll watch that with my wife and I can give more succinct thoughts on it. But yes, I would recommend it. And I think over the years I have probably recommended it.
Fun fact about this. So this movie was a cinematic first in a way. They say it's sound man, but he was the sound engineer or whatever you want to call him. God, what do they call him? I don't know. Sound. He was just sound engineer.
Get the recordist over here.
George Groves. There's a whole article called it's georgegroves.org.uk. But it's a whole story about this guy, and there's a whole section about My Fair Lady because that was the first time a wireless mic had been used in film.
Oh, cool.
They had done them in what they say in Sophia Loren on television conducting a guided tour around Rome using a radio microphone, which had worked quite successfully, but they were in their infancy and not employed in large-scale productions as they were bulky, limited to a very low power transmission, and suffered badly from interference. So the reason they had to even do this was because they pre-recorded all the tracks for this film, but Rex Harrison came up and was like, hey, so I do it differently every single time, and I'm not going to be able to lip sync properly to it because Rex Harrison's a very instinctive actor. And, when he'd done the stage play, so he's like, it's not how I approach this character. It's not the way I've done it before. We need to be able to grab my sound live. And they basically pioneered the lavalier microphone for film use. And the film, I think, ended up winning like a technical achievement for it. I think they won, what does it say? George Groves receiving Best Sound Oscar from Claudia Cardinale and Steve McQueen at the 1965 Academy Awards. Yeah, they won an Oscar for their work on this film. So just another little tidbit for you there.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's cool. All right, Dustin, I want you. You saw a film that I have not seen. And I've seen, John owned this film and I never got around to watching it, but I'm curious about it. So why don't you, in a minute, tell us about Backdraft?
Is it a real Chicago fireman's outfit I see on you? It's in the blood, Willie.
When I heard that both McCaffrey brothers were being assigned here at this station together, my heart was filled with a sudden desire to transfer.
Brian, damn you! Let's just have one drill, Lieutenant. Now one for the company and one for me.
You have a bad day here, somebody dies.
Check that door for heat.
I mean, is that an accident or is it arson?
I'll get that answer as soon as I do.
All right. So that is a little bit from the trailer Backdraft, and this is on Hulu, right?
This is on HBO Max.
HBO Max. Sorry, what was on Hulu before? Was that nothing? Nothing we've mentioned. Okay. I don't know why I said that. Sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. No, yeah, it's on HBO Max. So Backdraft is from 1991, written by Gregory Weldon and directed by Ron Howard. It stars Kurt Russell, William Baldwin, Robert De Niro, Donald Sutherland, Jennifer Jason Leigh, among others. And so it's got a pretty stacked cast and a good director. Unfortunately, I did not like this movie. So right off the bat, I'm going to say, would I recommend it? No, I would not. I think probably this is one of those movies that has a following simply because it was probably like, I remember it being played on television, like on TNT every 5 minutes.
All the time.
And so I feel like probably what happened is people saw it in theaters and were like, that was okay. And then they watched it a million times at home and were like, oh, Backdraft's on again. I guess I'll watch that. And so it got a following. I remember John always having this film around and him liking this movie. I thought I had seen it. I really thought I had. I don't know what I thought Backdraft was, but this is not what I thought it was. So regardless, this is the first time I've seen Backdraft, as it turns out. Like I said, I did not like it. So I think I gave it, what did I give it here? 2.5 stars.
Wow.
I maybe creeping down to 2. It's really not worth your time. It's one of those schmaltzy Hollywood movies that kind of doesn't have anything that it's saying really. And it's like overly, let me get you emotional about some things, but there's not enough in terms of performance or story to really get you there. So they try to get you there in other ways, and it just doesn't quite work. So Kurt Russell plays Stephen McCaffrey. He is the son of Dennis McCaffrey, also played by Kurt Russell, which is a little bit confusing. Because the opening scene is you see Kurt Russell go into a burning building and die. And then like the next scene, you see Kurt Russell again. And they didn't even do prosthetics on him to make him look different. It's just haircut. Kurt Russell. It's just the same guy. And I'm like, whoa.
This man's a god.
Yeah. I thought this man just died.
That's nutty.
And then Stephen McCaffrey's brother is played by William Baldwin, and so his name is Brian McCaffrey. The story is really Brian McCaffrey's story. He is sort of a troubled guy, like doesn't really know what he wants to do with his life, but feels called to be a fireman, just like his dad was, just like his brother is, and he ends up on his brother's in his brother's firehouse, and so they have to work together to put out fires, as you do. But there have been a string of fires that are a little bit suspicious, and they may have some connection. Perhaps maybe an arsonist is behind this. And so Robert De Niro plays a chief, this inspector, fire marshal type guy who is on the case and trying to figure out why all these fires are connected.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, first, I guess I'll say this. I love Kurt Russell. And I think he's a great actor. I think he tries his best to save this film. But the problem is everybody, De Niro included, sucks in this movie. And I'm sorry, William Baldwin is our main character. I never cared for him in this role. I don't care about the character, and I just don't think his performance was up to snuff for a leading role, and somebody that would be super hyper charismatic that you would want to follow and realize maybe this is like the cool kid or whatever. Maybe he's not supposed to be the cool kid, and that's fine too. But the audience needs to project onto him a little bit.
Sure.
And I don't want to. Then you have Jennifer Jason Leigh, who, look, I know she's an Academy Award nominee. The only thing I think I've seen her in is Annihilation, and I think in my Annihilation review that we did for the show, I think the review that we did for the show for Annihilation, I specifically mentioned that I did not care for her performance.
Sorry,
if I didn't specifically mention it,
that either sounded like Totoro in the background or like that bear from Annihilation. I was freaking out. I was like, am I imagining this fucking sound? Is anyone else hearing this?
It was a very loud passing truck.
You're talking about Annihilation. Help me. But you didn't like her in the film.
I did not like her in this film. Again, another character that you should. So there's this romance between her and Billy Baldwin, and you should feel like, oh, I really want this relationship to work out, and she's charming and he's charismatic, and this is great, and all of it falls flat.
No wonder Kurt Russell's so mad at her in The Hateful Eight when he sees her, kicks her right in the face. You ruined Backdraft.
Not wrong. Kurt, I tried so hard with that one.
Kurt, we're not rolling yet. You're not supposed to kick her in the face, Kurt. What are you doing?
Sorry. Might be. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just one of those movies that it's just too schmaltzy and too manipulative and too, I don't know, simple and weird, and I don't know.
Does it feel like one of those Hollywood films where it's like, hey, Kurt Russell, do you want to play a firefighter? Sure, that would look good. That's a nice visual.
Yes.
Picture me as a firefighter.
Yep.
Just for your little resume there.
Yes, 100%. I can envision the trailer shot of me, with a kid coming out of a burning building.
Yeah, it's gonna look good.
That'll look great. I've got soot all over my face. This is gonna be great.
But not too much soot, because you gotta see my face.
You gotta see my pearly whites.
Get some floss and floss the soot out of the cleft on my chin.
But yeah, I don't know. I feel like this is just one of those movies that maybe I even hyped up a little bit in my own head.
Sure.
Like, this is a classic.
Backdraft.
Like, I have to see this.
Yeah.
Backdraft. Everyone loves Backdraft.
Yeah.
But I could not get into this film. I thought every little bit of it was hackneyed, and every little bit of it was like forced. There's drama, but it doesn't arrive naturally. It's just like, hey, Robert De Niro's here. And then very weirdly, like, Billy Baldwin looks over into De Niro's office, and De Niro is like taking his shirt off to put on another shirt. And you see scar, like, burn, like he's a burn victim, like there's burns all over his back. And you're supposed to feel like, oh, now I understand that character. And I'm just like, that doesn't mean anything. He's a fireman. Like, this is some deep revelation.
It happens.
I don't know. Yeah, it's just like a thing. Like, okay. And I certainly don't feel bad for the guy because I don't know the character. I'm just now meeting him. Like, I don't know. It's just one of those things where they're trying really hard, and
sure,
and it just doesn't work out. Like, there's this big, romantic moment where Billy Baldwin and Jennifer Jason Leigh are in the firehouse, and they're it's like this big romantic moment, right? And they're on top of the fire truck, and they're having like a little date up there or whatever, and they're smooching and up on top of the fire truck, and then the bells go off and the fire truck has to go, but they're on top of it, and one of the fire they're like on top of it, woo, and like one of the firefighters, like, they get to the burning building, and like her bra comes off the top and then off the top of the truck, and a fireman's like, what is this? And looks up and sees Billy Baldwin up there like laughing, and I'm just like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be feeling. Is this funny? Is this romantic? I don't even know.
Yeah. What's the tone?
Yeah, exactly.
I just love in movies where men, like, suddenly, like, there's like a bra, and it's just like, a brassiere.
Is this a bra? Yeah, like it falls, and he like picks it up and holds it like really close to his face, and he even like rubs the fabric.
Oh,
and I'm like,
that's weird. Okay, see, there's one or two things. It's like,
no, but he does it in a way that's like what is this?
Is this a bra? It looks like one.
I can't figure out what this is, and I'm just like, this whole thing is so dumb.
It's like, every man, don't lie to me. You know what that is. You know exactly what that is. Don't play dumb. Like, it's like your mom standing there. Well, Mom, I don't know how did this. It's a brassiere, Mom. Can you believe? Or is it? I don't know. Can you tell me? Would you know? It's like.
And this dude's like 55.
Don't lie to me.
What this is?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I hope you know what it is.
Right. And so there's stuff like that. Kurt Russell has this, side plot with his ex-wife where he's like, I really, really like her, but we're split up right now. And then they like go to some ball or whatever, and she's dancing with some other dude. Yes. Yeah.
It's my favorite joke right now. I'm sorry. I think I did that last week too.
That's fine. She's dancing with some other dude, and Kurt Russell comes up and he's like, "Hey, pal," and like punches him, and it's filled with stuff like that, like the moment where I'm gonna show my ex-wife that I care by punching the guy that she's with, and then like later, he spends the night at her home, and their son is there, and then she's like, I don't know. It's like a big drama moment, and it's just like, it's not a drama moment. Like, I don't even care about these characters, and it just falls flat completely. But I can't excuse. There's one line in this film that I cannot excuse because it is a parody line. You cannot use this line anymore. But this is completely a parody line, which is, I won't say who. There's a character in peril. And he's been injured, and another character goes up to him and does the old, "Don't you die on me. Don't you die on me." And it's just like,
I see that in films that were made last year, and I'm like, please.
Yes.
Please. There needs to be lines in screenwriting that are retired.
Yeah, we retire that line.
Don't you die on me, or tell my family I love. Oh, that was a bad one. In Avengers Endgame, you tell my family I love them. You tell them yourself. It's like, come on, y'all. This is
right.
Come on.
Exactly.
That's like First draft line.
Yeah, dude. The one that I've always hated is because no one says this. I've never heard anyone say this in real life, only in movies.
Yeah.
Is when somebody goes, "Hey," and then somebody goes, "Hey, yourself." I'm like, no one says. I've never said that. No one goes, "Hello, yourself." No one does this. Like, why? Where are we getting these lines from?
I just want to write a whole like an anthology like story where it's just filled with like
cliched lines,
real world responses to those lines. Hey yourself. Fuck you. Like, leave me alone.
What does that mean?
What'd you say to me? Stay away from me.
Right. Don't you die on me. Well, I have no choice.
Yeah, well,
like, I'm either going to die or I'm not.
Don't you die on me. Please continue to live on me.
Yes.
Don't.
Not on me.
Are you there? Oh, you're dead. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to make your last moment so confusing and angsty.
That's what we need to do. When someone's dying, just go up to him and go, "Hi. Hi yourself." And then you'll know they'll be fine. Hi yourself.
And the roll credits.
Hi yourself. Hi yourself. This is dumb, dude. There's just terrible lines in this movie, like the whole like, "Hey pal, I'm gonna suck you one."
Yeah.
You know, whatever. Like this dumb stuff. That
Hands
just
off my gal.
Yeah. It just
and then
doesn't.
later she's like, "You know, it was really hot when you came up and aggressively assaulted the man I was with." In front of our children or our friends.
Yes. Or it's the cliche thing, though. What happens in that scene is exactly what you think happens. He goes up, he punches the guy, there's the fight, and then she storms up to him and like pounds on his chest and is like, "How dare you?" And then walks away, and he's like,
he just grabs her and makes out with her.
What did I even do wrong here? I'm always in the wrong with this broad.
Yeah.
And like that's exactly how it plays out.
Women, am I right?
Yeah, right. You know, it's 91. Maybe we can give it a pass because it is a long time ago. But at the end of the day, you know what? It's just not a great movie. And look, Ron Howard is better than this. We know that he's made good movies. Mm-hmm. So I just don't think this is indicative of any of these people's careers. So anyway, look, I know that people love this, and this is going to be a controversial thing because you probably grew up with it and you probably saw it a million times with your dad and your grandpa, and you're going to say like, "How dare they make fun of Backdraft?" But it's not a great movie. It doesn't hold up well. And I hate that phrase, by the way. Doesn't hold up well. I hate that phrase. I hate that I even just said that. It doesn't hold up well. Either the movie's good or it's not good. Don't say it doesn't hold up well like it used to be good and now it's not good. A movie doesn't become bad. It's either good or it's bad.
Well, I'll slightly disagree. I'm with what you're saying.
Yes.
But it should be rephrased. Instead of saying, you know, it holds up well, it should be like, I used to think this is good, and thankfully it's still good. Or as like, oh, the film doesn't hold up. Like, you know what? I used to think this is good, but I was too young to realize it was terrible.
My sensibilities changed.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't hold up to my current scrutiny. Like,
right? Yeah, exactly.
Like a film, like I don't know. I can't think of anyone from the '90s that I loved as a kid and hate now. But just the idea that your taste develops as you get older, and you just realize like. I mean, we age, we get better at picking what's good and we get more nuanced about it. And also films just get better because people go, "Oh, that sucks." And,
Well, and we have the problem where when you look back at movies, sometimes you find cliches that you didn't see the first time because, again, this movie's in 91. Maybe we weren't all keyed into the cliches of these lines, and now we are. It's the John Carter effect. This film seems cliche, but it's only because I've seen it a million other times. Yeah. Not because the story itself is cliche, but because I've seen it too many times. And it's the same thing here. It's just, it doesn't, on a story level, it doesn't work. The drama is forced. The characters are one dimensional at best. And and have very little motivation. And the mystery, the whole mystery element of like, well, what's going on with these fires? It feels like is so backseat until it isn't. And it's just one of those things where they're like, I don't know what happens in the third act. What can happen big? I don't know. There's a thing. And there's an arsonist. Whereas it seemed like the first two acts, they were just like, we're just putting out fires. And then someone realized like, hey, you can't have a third act climax that's just them putting out another fire. There has to be something going on. And they're like, it's a mystery. It's a mystery.
Well, that's Backdraft.
Yeah.
Don't watch it.
Yeah, you can skip it.
All right, I'm gonna talk about one more thing real quick. This is the last Blockbuster on Netflix.
When I started in 2004, Blockbuster Video had roughly 9,000 stores and over 60,000 employees. And now...
Do I miss renting from a physical store? No, absolutely not. I don't think anybody does.
We just need Pacific Video to send us a notice that they are exercising their fourth and final renewal option. So yeah, that kind of scared me a little bit.
I mean, how long until companies don't even make DVDs, period? And then I don't know what.
That's from the trailer for the last Blockbuster. This is a documentary that is on Netflix right now, ironically, and it came out in 2020, and people were talking about it a few months ago. So I was like, oh, the last Blockbuster. So have you seen this?
I have not seen it.
So I checked it out. My wife and I checked it out, and I gave it to like 3 stars. So it doesn't do what I want documentaries to do, which is like tell me information that I'd, open, like the Britney Spears documentary was like, oh my God, this is what a conservatorship is. Oh my God, this celebrity is subject to a terrible one. Oh my God, it's unjust, while entertaining you with stuff you're familiar with. Like, oh, I remember when that album came out, or I remember that music video, and, but this one is a lot of nostalgia. It's a lot of, now we're going to talk to James Arnold Taylor or Kevin Smith, or Doug Benson's going to go to this location in Oregon and walk through and look at movies, and they're all going to talk about, remember when you return it, they talk about late fees, and it felt more like everyone getting together and saying, hey, remember Blockbuster? And so there's an element to that that's like that's nostalgic and reminiscent and everything, and cool. I paused a couple times. My wife and I swapped stories about Blockbuster. So it can be fun to do with someone who also grew up with Blockbuster, because then you go, oh yeah, well, here's what my Blockbuster did. Oh, funny story, I forgot about this. So it's one of those like, yeah, I'd recommend you watch it if you are interested in how exactly there's only one Blockbuster left, and this woman Sandy who runs it. It's a fun little story, but it's not like, oh my God, what a great documentary. It's more like just here's some nostalgia and a couple of things, but there's nothing actionable about it. There's no call to action like you can keep Blockbuster alive. It's just, hey, they just haven't closed it yet, and they're keeping it open for now. And okay, and
there's not like a burning question. It's just information dump.
Yeah, information dump. It's like, okay, I mean, it's it's okay. It's fine. So that's the last Blockbuster. Not much else to say. Yeah, it was. Not much else to say. Just So I'm excited for Black Widow. I'm glad I'm going to get to see it soon. I'm just excited. I looked at the MCU slate today, and I was like, you know what? In the next 2 years, we're going to get 8 movies, which is like almost the entire Phase 4 of Marvel films. In 2 years, and all these Disney Plus shows. So it's crazy.
That's awesome.
Speaking of that, next week we'll talk about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier season finale, and that's going to be fun. We're going to have John on, and that will be a lot of fun. So until then, thanks for listening.
We haven't talked about this at all.
No, we haven't, and it's I don't want to say it's better that way, but like it's interesting to talk about the whole show. I mean, everyone knows we're going to watch these things, so it's like it's not a surprise where if we go, it's cool. I mean, like I watched the first episode and I'm going to stick with it. Like implied. So
right, exactly.
So definitely be interesting to be able to talk and give our thoughts on just the series as a whole, and probably talk a little bit about what to expect from Loki. Although you and John are not watching the marketing material for these, so
correct. Yes and no. I'm watching teaser trailers.
Okay. But not the whole,
So I did watch the teaser for Loki and I did watch Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
But I won't go further than that.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough.
Yeah. I just want to know what I'm in for. I want the taste. And then I'll just, go in blind from there.
You're in for, all right. Well, that's exciting then. So I'll allow myself to do it for now, because I'm in that stage where it's like, you can't spoil me because there's too much new stuff, whereas with the other movies, it was like, everything's wrapping up. I don't need to know, With the new stuff, it's like I'm just hungry for like, show me these
just
things.
Give me something, yeah.
Give me an artist rendering.
Right.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. Back next week with The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Cheers.
Yeah. Bye.